So today's session is pretty much the basic sessions that we start with, and it's evaluating your skills. And I'm sure that you might have gone through that through your career, or if you attended earlier sessions, but we'll take a fresh perspective today on how to evaluate your skill set. And I think I noticed that this is a very important topic, especially for people who are looking for promotion in their current organization, or if they're looking for a defined career change, whether it's in sector, function, location, level, or seniority. And it could be simply for anyone who wants a change, but they don't have a clear direction. So this is very useful for you to perhaps do some reflection on your skills, on your current job role, and then try to evaluate your skill set. And we'll go through the session just in a minute. Okay, so our goal today is to make your skills easily identifiable so that, if you're looking for a job and you want to put them on your resume, you know that the skills that you put there will get your recruiter's attention. For maximum effect, you need to know the right skills that you're going to list on that resume. Now, the majority of job seekers don't think through what skills they bring into their employers. And among those who do not take stock of their career skills, many underestimate or even overestimate their skill set. And neither scenario is a good look. So, whether you're underestimating your skills or overestimating them, you're not giving a clear description of the skills that you have. And even if what's even worse is underestimating your skill set, because you risk undercutting your value and not showing the real value to the employer. In fact, according to the Monster Future of Work 2021 Outlook survey, employers across all countries agree that demonstrating your skill set, which ranked 59%, is the single most important target your resume must hit. And it should be followed by expressing your personality, and then finally by showing your values. So your skills, coupled with the description of your achievements, will paint a clear picture of what you can do and how you can do it. So today, the learning objectives for this session is really to critique your skill set objectively by looking or analyzing it by looking at projects that you've worked on. And then the importance of self-assessment tools, then the importance of the 360 feedback form and gathering feedback in order to correctly assess your skills. And then finally, how assessing that will help in your career direction and defining your value proposition. Now, I know that we usually talk about hard skills and soft skills, and these are the skills that are really, commonly known to everyone, and employers and recruiters, generally, they ask you about them. But today I want to take you through other skills that you might, go through or might be asked about when you're going through, an interview, or when you're speaking to a recruiter, he might ask you what are some of your industry specific skills or tool proficiencies. So we'll go quickly through these. And the industry specific skills, these are the skills that are absolutely critical to working in your industry. So these are the must-have skills that you should have front and center in your resume. And so if you're in accounting, for example, your skills should list financial reporting and analysis. It should list forecasting and projections and audit reviews. So these are things that you should think about when you are talking about your industry-specific skills. Now, going to tool proficiencies, some positions which are really related to technology or pharma or healthcare, they require a base set of skills. And these might include, how to operate certain programs. If you're in IT, how to operate certain systems, ERPs, SAPs, etc. So these are important if you're pursuing a job in a specific, industry. Hard skills is what is commonly known to everyone, and these are the skills that are learned through experience or education. So your PMP, your MBA, and these are measurable usually. So for example, your hard skills, let's go to an accounting example again, could be, cash management, could be financial analysis or financial reporting. Soft skills is more like your personality traits and characteristics that determine your work style. So some of these include your communication skills, your creativity, analytical skills, emotional intelligence, problem solving skills, leadership, time management, etc. All these are the skills, and employers look for them to get a feel of your personality, to get a feel of your values, and what is it like working with you on a day-to-day basis. So these are really important for the employers to assess, would you fit the culture of the company? Would you be a correct fit for this position? And soft skills are really crucial for a candidate who wants to switch industry. So these are also considered your transferable skills. So if you are trying to move from one industry, let's say construction, and you want to go into another industry, these are the skills that you're going to focus on. And these are the skills that as you're going to demonstrate how and why you have them to the employer. People skills may fall also under soft skills, but I mean, what job does not have a human interaction? So these are the skills that employers look for to understand how will you fit within, teams? How can you resolve conflict with people? How can you rally co-workers in order to accomplish a project? So these are really very important to think about. And these sometimes might fall under the soft skills. Now, the conscious competence ladder, I'm sure that most of you would have gone through this somehow. But in the 70s, psychologist Noel Birch suggested this model for how we master our skills and our relationships. And this model is also attributed to Maslow. So the conscious competence ladder model backs the idea that we will talk about in this webinar. And it goes through the psychological states that are involved in transforming a skill from incompetence to competence or outright mastery. And you will be at different stages of this ladder, when gaining a skill. So it could be really helpful to go through a skills audit to understand, to identify development areas in relation to your goal. Now, according to this model, we move through the following levels as we build confidence in a skill. So you start with the unconscious incompetence, and here you know that you're unconsciously unskilled at a certain skill and that you need to learn it. The conscious competence is, we know that we don't have this skill, you are aware of it, and you are aware that you need to learn this skill, but you're not yet proficient at it. Conscious competence is you're exercising the skill step by step. You might not master it. You might take time in order to do it. Let's say, for example, coaching. If you have not been in coaching before, the first step you might have, you don't know that you're a coach. The next step is that you learn that you want to be a coach and you want to start to learn more about the skill. The third step is that you've learned and you have your guide of questions that you ask when you sit with someone. And then unconscious competence this is the mastery stage where you know how you do the skill, you're exercising it, and you're doing it unconsciously. And if we take the example of driving a car, sometimes when you're at the mastery unconscious competence, you find yourself driving from home to work and you don't know how you got there. And this is how much you master a skill. So it's really important to review our skills, because if you find yourself at that skilled stage, which is the mastery, you might reach a level where you are stagnant in your position or you feel bored. Do you want to really remain doing what you're doing, or is it time for you to learn a new skill? So this model really helps us understand our own knowledge and how we relate to our objectives, career objectives in this case, and how we become better at this case, at a skill. So it's good to start by breaking down your skill set and your expertise into components, and you will find that a lot of these components sit along the different steps of the ladder. So skill development is important at any stage of the competence ladder. So understanding your skill set across the ladder will be most valuable for any career direction and any career move. Now, evaluating your experience, and really this leads us into thinking about what do we want more in our future. So when you talk about analyzing, and evaluating your role, think about one of the projects that you have worked on, right? Large scale projects. And try to identify some of the skills, what you do well, sorry, and the strengths, what you do well and enjoy most. So here I'd like you to differentiate between a skill and a strength. So a skill is something that you really do well and you're a master at, but a strength is something that you do well, but you also enjoy. So quite often, and I'm kind of picking at these terms because quite often when you go through an interview, they ask you, what are some of your strengths? Or they ask you, what are some of your skills? And it's really important that you try to distinguish between both when you're talking about your skills and your strengths. So take one of these projects that you've worked on recently or you're currently working on and try to list multiple skills, try to list multiple strengths, and in building up how to evaluate these skills. Now, next, what you want to do is understand which aspects are transferable and which ones are specialist. So again, here you want to talk about yourself. And I would say this, I say it always, talk about yourself with impact. So show your abilities broadly and how you incorporated unexpected change or additional elements into a project. So talk about, for instance, how things could have went wrong in a project and how you have demonstrated your certain skills, whether these are the transferable skills, your ability to manage time, your ability to lead on a project, and also your specialist skills. After listing them, try to understand, try to relate them to the project, try to have them ready and clear whenever you're being asked for them. And try to create a balance between soft and hard skills. So talk about the projects where you had challenges. Let's say one of the team members left and you were tasked with additional responsibilities for completing this project. So try to talk about how you manage to cope with extra pressure, how you manage to deliver the project within specific deadlines, or how the deadlines changed. So trying to create a balance between using your soft and hard skills. Form a clear evidence base of how your role has developed in recent years. So what you really want to focus on here is to show that you're really capable of making the leap or taking that role because you've done it previously. So employers want to see that you're adaptable, that you're capable of taking new challenges, and that you've done it before and you've progressed from this area to this area. So if you've done it previously, you're able to take on additional responsibility in this new role or in this new project. And then become accustomed to focusing on your impact within the team or the company. So when you're talking about your role and your skill set, we understand that collaboration and teamwork is really important, but what you want to really show here is your impact. What have you done? How have you done it? And you want to show that it's you that made the change or you that made the impact, because it's you that they're going to hire, not one of your team members. So try to isolate your impact from the rest of the team is really very important. And you can do that simply by using the CAR or the STAR technique. And again, for those who don't know the CAR or the STAR technique, the CAR is challenge, action, result. And then the STAR technique is the situation, the task, the action, and the result. And here, if you are in an interview and you want to talk about, some of these challenges using the STAR or the CAR technique, I want to give a note, an important note, because I sometimes see it when I'm doing an interview. Most of the people spend their time talking about the challenge and not focusing much on the action or the result. What you really want to focus on is, if I want to divide it into percentages, I would say give 30% of your time talking about the challenge, 60% talking about your action. What was the problem? How you solved it? What was the outcome? And then talk about the result. The result, give it only 10%. So the action where your role came in, where you demonstrated the skills, where you have contributed to the change, this should be the focus of your reply. If you're using the STAR technique, so talk about the situation, give it about 15%, the tasks are 15%, the action again 60%, and the result 10%. So what you want to do is identify your skills, the skills that you demonstrated, and what was your impact. Again, please mention the impact in every single task, and try to narrate it in a sort of story. And storytelling is really important when you're talking about your achievements. I don't want, and nobody wants a long story. Everybody wants succinct stories, really straight to the point. Interviewers usually have a certain time allotted to this interview, or if somebody's reading a resume, they only have 5 to 7 seconds to go through your resume. So you want to make sure that your story is succinct. It's telling the reviewer what they really want to see in you. And then structure it in, as I said, using the STAR or the CAR technique. Now, what I want you to focus on when you're talking about your skill set and experience is, try to quantify as much as possible. So if you worked on a project and the action was, the first mention that the project was worth that multi-million dollars or that specific amount, and try to talk about the measurable outcomes. So you've generated that percentage revenue, that much, in this number of countries. So try to quantify as much as possible. Now, if you work in projects and you're unable to quantify, what you want to focus on are the relationships. So focus on how was your impact with the team, how was your impact within the organization, how was that, the project or the actions that you've taken, how was that taken by the management. So you want to focus on yourself, your impact in terms of relationships. And this is one way of how you can evaluate your skill set when looking at projects. Now, career assessment tests, these are really another way, and it's really useful for you to assess your skill sets, because career tests really aim to help you learn more about yourself, so you can discover which jobs mesh best with your personality, with your needs, and with your goals. Because when it comes to finding a job that you actually enjoy doing, you need to consider factors beyond paycheck, beyond travel or commute time, and etc. So you will need to think hard about what kinds of work environment really fits within your personality and something that would give you most satisfaction. So here it's really important to go through, understand what are your motivations behind this job. And that's why in a lot of the interviews, you find that the interviewer asks you motivation questions. And they were trying to understand, what is your motivation for joining the company? What is your motivation for being with them? So some of the questions that they would ask is, what is the biggest challenge this company faces? Or what brings you here today? Or why do you want to leave your current position? These are some of the questions that are related to your motivation. So when taking these tests, try to understand really your motivations, what inspires you in a job, And this is really helpful for you because ideally what you want to do is find a job that gives you the greatest satisfaction, not just the money that you want for the now. I mean, the money is good, of course, but money and satisfaction as well. So I've listed some of the tests which are free of charge. These are the tests that you can take without, having to pay for them. So some of these tests is the Career One-Stop Work Values Matcher. And this is really good because it answers questions about different aspects of your job or workplace and helps you find your ideal work environment. So it's helpful in that sense. The Keirsey Temperament Sorter is a personality type test. It helps you understand more, your temperament. Your temperament influences career satisfaction, job search strategies, and job performance, which are really important. So a free description of your profile will be provided with an option to purchase the full report. Now, they can give you a brief description. If you want to dig deeper, you can purchase it. The OnNet Profiler, this is interesting because it's administered by the United States Department of Labor. So in this 60-question survey, it yields a profile of interest tendencies, and these are the realistic, investigative, social, enterprising, etc. And it gives you an understanding more about, yourself, the job zones representing the work that you could move into. The ONET Interest Profiler. This is the VEA Character Survey, and I love this one. This is the only free scientific survey of character strength. And what I love about it is that it's based on research. And research shows that knowing and using your character strengths can help you in several things. So the first thing, it increases happiness and well-being, which is really, really important for you as a person in the workplace and in your personal life. It also helps you find meaning and purpose in life and in work. It boosts your relationships. It manages stress and health, and it helps you accomplish goals. So I do recommend that you all take the VEA Character Survey. It's based on positive psychology, a psychologist, author, Martin Seligman, whom I think and follow. If you've read any of his books, like Learned Optimism, etc. Martin Seligman is the founder of the VEA Character Survey. So I recommend that you go and take a couple of these assessment tests to try to understand, to learn more about yourself, to learn more about your personality type, to learn more about what are the best jobs that mesh with you. Now, of course, there are other very reliable tests, but these are unfortunately not free. So one of these is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or MBTI. And I'm sure some of you might have heard of it. The MBTI is not a free test, and it costs about $100. But this test is based on a theory of psychological types based on C.J. Jung, and it's very useful in careers and careers context for cultural and team fit. So it gives you 16 combinations based on extroversion and introversion, and judging and perceiving, on sensing and intuition, and thinking and feeling. But this test should be administered by an accredited professional. So you might want to check with your company, HR, or learning and development team, because some of the companies, they do provide this test for free. So it's worth checking with your HR department. Another way that would help you learn more about your skill set is the 360 feedback. And this is one of the really valuable tools for you to assess your skill set. A 360 feedback is a method of performance appraisal which gathers feedback from a number of sources, including peers, direct reports, more senior colleagues, etc. And the purpose really is to obtain information from more sources that will help the employee, if you are the employee, to get an accurate picture of your skills and of your performance. We find that some of the companies, managers, they do the 360 feedback form on their employees to see how, to gather more information about them. And it's really important because reviewers can take a clearly different view of aspects of behavior or performance, or because certain aspects are shown to be more or less important than they thought. So we get that clear picture from other people on how they view us, how they view our skill set. So it can help you to make performance management appraisals, and it's really objective and it's fair. So, and it's accurate. So here I'd like to refer to the Johari window, and I don't know if some of you are aware of this model. This model was devised by American psychologists Joseph Loft and Harry Ingman in 1955. And it's a very simple and useful tool for illustrating and improving self-awareness and also mutual understanding between individuals and groups. So it has 4 windows. And these windows, the first, if we look at the first top left quadrant, so these are the skills that are public. So public are known to ourselves and known to other people. So these are the skills. So for instance, if I want to talk about myself, my coaching skills, these are public skills because you all know that I coach, and this is something that I know and you know. Now, moving on to the next one is known to self but unknown to others is private. So I know that I have other capabilities. I only know them. You don't know them. So these are private to you, but they're known to me. And if we look at the left column side, so before we move to the top one, the left column down, the unknown one. So the unknown is unknown to others and unknown to self. And these are the skills that we don't know that we have them, and other people don't know that we have them. And we can only find out about them if we do the 360 feedback form. Here is when we get that sort of feedback from people telling us things that we didn't know about ourselves, and they also didn't know about us. Again, the unknown to self and known to others, these are things, it's the blind spot. And this is really crucial because these are things that we don't know we have, but others knew about us. So the feedback falls kind of somewhere in between, where it gives us that understanding, to learn more about ourselves and our skill set and how people view us. It's really important because it ensures fairness and accuracy. So using wide-ranging feedback sources is more comprehensive and indicates situational differences, because when we are asking for the feedback, we're asking it in relation to a specific situation or a specific project that we worked on. So it kind of gives you that kind of accuracy. It's also important for developing self-awareness because it shows what strengths that we can leverage well and should take confidence in, as well as potential blind spots that we don't know about. It also increases accountability by talking about our skills and involving others. So when we do that, involve others in a 360 feedback form, there is an implicit drive for us to take action on it. So we feel like we're accountable. We have to take action now because, I've involved other people in this feedback form, in this 360 feedback, and now it's time for me to take action. It starts conversations. It's amazing what people notice and can reveal about us when just being simply asked about it. So it opens doors for us to discuss your future direction and progression with others who might have influence and insight. So it's really helpful in that sense. And it improves performance. Ultimately, exceeding expectation in your current role will give you more confidence or more evidence of your skills application, and really a better platform for you to move up and to move on. So this can only happen when you start to do the 360 feedback form. Now, when you're doing the 360 feedback form, try to, look at these, consider these points when you're really thinking about it. So first of all, try to decide what you'd like feedback on. So if you're identified certain specific skills that are important to your goal, list them down and then think about, a specific situation where if you're sending this feedback to your directors or to your line managers or to your colleagues, refer to a specific situation or refer to this specific project and ask for feedback on your skills on that project. Next is select the right people. So whether they're managers, colleagues, direct reports, it could be your MBA colleagues or your colleagues in the program. All these are really helpful in terms of giving you feedback. So depending on the necessary discretion and their ability to give feedback, these people are going to help you in your direction, in your next career direction. Third, find the right time. Of course, when you're sending the 360 feedback form to your manager or to your colleague or to your clients, make sure that you consider their schedule and their pressures. You want to ensure that they have sufficient time, and especially if you're assessing your role in a project or in a situation. So give them the right time to reflect on it and give them sufficient time to reply back to you. And then fourth, make an appropriate approach. So internally, this may form part of your PDR or appraisal or HR process. So if it's within your company, this should come, within your HR team. And if not, all you can do is go approach someone and say, have you got 20 minutes to talk? I'd really appreciate your feedback on, let's say, if you've done a presentation on my last presentation or on my last webinar, or on just determine the things that you want feedback on. Just make an appropriate approach. And managing the conversation, provide context to what you'd like feedback on. So for instance, if you're done a webinar, try to ask them to give you feedback on the webinar, the content of the webinar or the presentation skills or whatever that you're seeking feedback on. So if it was an innovation session that you have done, within your team, try to use open-ended questions. So whenever you're asking for 360 feedback form, use open-ended questions, the how, the why, the when, the where, and try to listen with an open mind. Remember, these people are not criticizing you. They're trying to help you with your progression. So think about it in that sense. It's not criticism. It's not something that is going to demote you, especially if it's coming from a manager. What you really want to focus on is staying open-minded and trying to learn from this experience. Reflect and validate. Remember that feedback is subjective and it's situational. So be resilient, even if your skills were not really up to par in a specific situation, or if you delivered this presentation. This is only situational, and feedback from 2 to 3 people on the same skill is helpful to validate. That's why we ask you to send this feedback form. I would say send it to 10 people. Others would say 5, 6 is okay. But just to make sure that whatever feedback you're getting, it's kind of valid and it's kind of putting you in the right direction in relation to your goals. And finally, take action. So update people on how you're taking their advice, and how you're listening to it and how you're trying to develop your brand, and be prepared to reciprocate in the future. So if they ask you for feedback, be ready to do the same. So this is something that you want to regularly do. It's not, we do it once in our lifetime and that's it. If you want to continuously improve and develop yourself, you have to continuously seek feedback. You have to continuously ask people how they view your skills, how they view your performance, and especially, seeking feedback from people that are important to you on different levels, whether it's direct managers, whether it's line managers, whether it's colleagues, whether it's clients. You want to have an understanding of how you are viewed. Again, this is your brand. This is your personal brand. Are these people viewing you correctly? Are you really demonstrating the skills that need to be demonstrated, or that you think are important for you? So these are things that are really very important for you to reflect on throughout your career, not only now when you're doing this. I understand that more people are joining us now. I know we are halfway through the session, but welcome to the session. One of the tools also, which is the wheel of strength. This is one of the tools that are also important for you when you are trying to assess your skill set. So I'm sure that some of you would have been, would have used the wheels at some point in your career. And in this photo, I've listed some of the skills that are important when moving or when assessing a job description. So the idea here is that you look at where you are now, and then look at your skill set now, and then you do the exercise again. That exercise that you're going to repeat is going to be in relation to a job role that you have your eye on, or a promotion that you're considering in the future. So first of all, you look at your skill set now in your current job, and then look at all of these items. So look at the relationship management, look at the communication, collaboration with diverse teams, look at internal awareness, and try to give yourself a scale. Try to give yourself a mark between 1 and 10. So 1 is not relevant and no experience at all. And then 10 is outright mastery. So what you're trying to create here, or to help yourself understand, is how am I doing in relation to my job currently, and how are these skills? So if you find out that your communication, you have 5, you know that you need to develop at that. And if you think that your relationship management is at 10, then you're a master. If you think that your analytics is at 3, then you know that you need to change and learn something in order to help you with your next role. So this exercise needs to be done twice, as I said. The first time is at the current job, and the next time is, when you are assessing it for a future job role. And the idea here is try to bridge the gap between where you are now and where you are heading in the future. So if you find yourself short in some of these skills, what you really need to focus on is to get the learning. How can you improve better at these skills? How can you become more fit to get that next job and at the next level? And I've put here some sort of action plan. This is something that is going to help you in relation with your goals. So state the goal, the current situation, including the feedback that you received, your desired situation, including your measurements and how are you doing in relation to the skills, and your actions, what are you doing there, and then the deadline. This is something that I have these attachments. I could email it to you, all of you, after the session, so that you can keep it if you want to work on an action plan. Now, the next steps for you, that is really important for you to think about, is to collate all learning points that we have mentioned from all tools. So whether it's the conscious competence letter, whether it's the 360 feedback forms, or it's the career assessments, collate all the learning points that you have done, and then research the market to understand your potential fit. So what suits your current skill set? Now that you've evaluated yourself, you know your skills, and you know what would be a best match for you. And you also know what are the gaps that are available for your next target role. And what you really want to focus on is really look at the positives. So if you have a good skills, you want to reinforce that skill, and you want to make sure that you show it as a strength. You want to identify development areas, and you want to create an action plan for that. The action plan really is something that you can also develop a list for it on how you can make it achievable within a certain period of time, and keep monitoring your progress. So in relation to your action plan, I would recommend that if you find there is a skills gap, focus on getting the learning. Either online learning through LinkedIn learning courses or through the MOOCs. You can get a mentor. So if you go to the Manchester network, you would be able to access the mentors. So access a mentor or someone that you know he's more experienced in the field that you want to learn, get more knowledge on. So try to get the learning from that, or try to attend more specialist events. If you're not doing an MBA, but you are all doing an MBA or a master's in one of the degrees, get the learning or the accreditation. Always be proactive. Try to take initiatives that is going to help you in your learning. Go seek advice from someone in that sector. Ask for informational interviews on how to develop yourself in a certain skill. And perhaps if you work in a department where in a company where you are allowed to go and perhaps shadow in another department or get some of the skills that you need. So if you work, let's say, in learning and development, and you want to get some skills in marketing, see if you can spend some time in the marketing to increase these skills and to get the learning that you need. So there are several ways that you can do in order to strengthen the skills, to bridge the gap, and to get the learning moving. So that's it from me.